Mrs. Sissy Houston, everybody.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Despite the teardown and the fall down in the entertainment industry, in my view, this morning, an icon has died, producer of one of the world's greatest singer, mother of Whitney Houston. We're saying condolences to Diane Warwick and the rest of the family member this morning on the passing of one of musical great and the mother of the world greatest, Whitney Houston. Thank you very much, everyone. Good morning and welcome to my community of parity and all my family members, to my two brothers online at the moment, Karen and Roger. Good morning and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. To those in the western belt of Florida, we hope that you are observing the warnings and the guidelines from state. I'm having problem with my broadcast slide this morning. It is just not coming into studio, but I'll continue to try. Debbie Jervis, good morning, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Is it Hold the Beat and Teach? Kemar Johnson, Michelle Lewis Wilson, Danet Harriet, Marcia B. Rove from the Cockpit Country. Good morning. Good morning to the Cockpit Country. Len Miles, Ransford McLean, Jason Kane, Raymond G., Sharon Bernard, Keneal Gale, Bros. No, Diane Karen. Diane is the niece of Sissy Houston. So Diane and Whitney are first cousin. Sissy Houston and Diane Warwick mother are sisters. So Whitney and Diane are two first cousins. Don Fox, good morning, good morning. Echo, good morning and welcome. Thank you all for joining us. My broadcast slide keep giving me hell this morning, but if it doesn't, I'll have to try bring it into the studio, Marcia Thomas, another way, because there are some issues that I want to pick up on. Simone Beckford, how are you? Good morning and welcome, everyone. Patricia Matthews, Natalia Freeman, Sim, Cousin Jay, Violet Watson, Sunshine, Abina Sarkodi, everybody, morning. Me just try Everton Faces, sort out my broadcast slide behind so I can pick up on the issues that I want to discuss. But as you know, we've been talking about the feistiness of the Psoj and the pushback from people like PJ, the Chief Justice. But Psoj said, we stand by our word. We couldn't care, wanna think, and wanna say. But we stand by our proposal. So PSOJ is basically saying we can't afford. I want Jamaica people to understand, those of you who are working in the private sector, thank God my broadcast slide come in now. Those of you who are working in the private sector, you must be concerned about this proposal from the PSOJ. Not only it's a disrespect to our history and what we have been fighting for the last 500 years, but this is to secure more economic advantage and finances for the PSOJ. Because the PSOJ is concerned about having a mass weekend of celebration that would create more revenue for them. Throwing out the legacy of what we have fought for to achieve emancipation, which is a prerequisite to the independence, the so-called independence we have. I want Jamaica people working in the private sector to understand what the private sector is doing to you. The private sector is cutting not just your holiday period, but messing with cultural dates in our calendar. Cultural dates that mean a lot to us, those of the African descendant. These PSOJ, white people, Lebanese and Indian and Chinese people, they have never cared about us. Isn't it, Bedford? All them care about is enriching themselves off with slave labor or with cheap labor. And here comes PSOJ. I tell we say, no, we don't offer the plantation too long. We can't afford to being off of the plantation for so long. We're not used to them something there. And Arabs as well. We're not used to them something there. We're not used to off of the plantation so long. So we can't make on off the 1st of August and then on off the 6th of August again. No, man, we can't them need chopping and we can't need picking, is what the PSLJ is saying to us. After we have been fighting with the PSLJ for 500 years for freedom, dignity, the PSOJ turn around and tell we say, no, that's too much for you, the slaves. Remember, so on the day if you create money for we. So if we not want to enjoy that, it have to create we more money. And it to stretch out galang in, now create with the amount of money count half for too much. So we want to create a mass ballerina where the same descendant of the slave have to come spend one whole heap of money with we throughout that period to facilitate on a ballerina. And thereby we will make a lot of money out of that weekend, said the PSOJ. I hope that's how Jamaica people are understanding this rude intervention by the PSOJ. But then Brian Sykes, you said something which confused me. Chief Justice said, Judiciary moving away from colonial roots. Like, seriously, Brian Sykes? How serious is that, Mr. Sykes? Who are we to believe, Mr. Sykes? Because the debacle, Brian Sykes, if you remember, that sparked the race and birth issue around Mark Golden was to do with this very colonial root. So are you saying then here now, Mr. Sykes, that you agree with Mark Golden's argument that we ought to remove ourselves from the Privy Council if we are becoming a republic? Because if the judiciary is moving away from its colonial root, Mr. Sykes, then we have to drop the Privy Council, wouldn't we? We couldn't be chanting around and waving our cheerleading flag, Chief Justice, that we are a republic and that our judiciary is moving away from its colonial roots. Then we can't be a member of the judicial committee of the Privy Council, can we? It wouldn't make your argument wouldn't make sense if you're not calling, Mr. Sykes, for a removal from the Privy Council and acceptance of the Caribbean Court of Justice. Then the argument really would waddle. So we need to know what you support. Do you support a removal from the Privy Council and stick with the Caribbean Court of Justice? Because if we're moving away from, the judiciary is moving away from its colonial roots, we have to move away from the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. Otherwise, your argument wouldn't make sense. Marlene, how are you? It really wouldn't make sense. But as Ono know, the Chief Justice regularly speak in public on some issues that might come before the court at some time. And this is why I tell her, Dorothy Brown, and also Chief Justice behave. Chief Justice not jump in front of Mike like that. Of course, sometimes you have Chief Justices doing lecture, and you will have Chief Justice doing a yearly and annual report that they would submit to the Ministry of Justice. So may I come up to Uno in the Ministry of Justice? May I come up to Uno? May I come up to the Ministry of Justice? But it don't look like Brian Sykes is even doing for him work as Chief Justice. Because if you're there to audit Chief Justice across the courts, or if the Ministry of Justice was doing audits across the courts, them would have known, say, the courts across the country is in a derelict and shabby condition. But hasn't it been like that for quite some time? I know we wake up and fall in a them something, you know, ton of flavor morning. I know we wake up and fall into these something. The state of our courts is a slow, how I may have it. The state of our courts is a slow decline. May I go find it? These are the mandatory evacuation area on the west coast of Florida. So if you're upon the west coast of Florida, you know, sir, and you are in any of these counties, you are under mandatory evacuation. If you have a mobile house as well, you're also under mandatory evacuation from all of those counties and the suggested zones within the county. Marcia Gray, where you say you're up on the western belt in one of these counties. I hope you're following the evacuation orders and don't stay to protect property. The unstoppable one. Oh, you do. Don't stay to protect property because you can always regain property. So I hope you're all following the mandatory evacuation order and make sure you're all out of the way of the storm, because based on its trajectory and how it's moving, it probably hit the west coast at a category 5. So it is expected to be much more devastating than Helene. So make sure you're all observing the warnings and the guidelines coming from the state. Yes. Delroy Chuck, disappointed by lack of maintenance. Hey, of course. Murdo Justice Minister accused of passing blame for a poor state of courts. Now, your Ministry of Justice have the responsibility of your court system. The prison service also come under the Ministry of Justice because the correctional services works under the Ministry of Justice. So any department of government, Marshall Litchmore, that is responsible for the maintenance of the courts across the country, it is the Ministry of Justice, major control. It is the Ministry of Justice that would be responsible to carry out audits of our courts and our prisons across the country. Your Ministry of Justice is also responsible for the implementation of rehabilitations and all of the fangle dangles that your prison require, Georgia Dennis, is under the ambit of your Ministry of Justice. Regardless of what the People's National Party has done or their failure of their 18 years of not upkeeping the courts, the current government, though, that has been there for 8 years cannot, should not, must not have the opportunity to blame the previous administration after 2 terms of this Ministry of Justice. They cannot come out and blame the previous administration for the state of the courts. You have 8 years to do it. You have not even looked at the issue. Even if you've looked at the issue, Delroy Chuck, you have done nothing about it. You have turned a blind eye to it. So to come out here and attack, say you're disappointed, Cousin Myrna Wagwan, disappointed about what, Delroy Chuck? That the people within the court's administrative service are speaking out? That it is now becoming public information, the state that our courts are in? the lack of funding in our courts, the lack of development of our court buildings and services. And Delroy Chuck is coming out to tell us, oh, I'm disappointed for the lack of maintenance. Whose responsibility is it, Delroy Chuck? Whose ministry does the courts fall under? Kemar Johnson, that you have come out here, come tell we say you're disappointed. Why don't you resign? Because your disappointment, Delroy Chuck, is an admission of failure. Because we know how to talk like left-hand crab, you know. We know how to talk like left-hand crab. So therefore, your admission, your disappointment is an admission of your failure, Denise Hilton. Because you have 8 years to look at the problem. You have 8 years to address the problem. And it's a gaping hole in the entire system. Are you disappointed that we have found out? Are you disappointed that it's making headline news? Or are you disappointed that we have found out that you're just sitting there collecting our money and doing nothing? But this is how the silence works. When the people sit down in silence and endure the disservice and they turn a blind eye of government and those who are responsible to provide and finance certain services done now. When we sit down in silence, this is how things fall apart around us. And this is why I'm telling you, we cannot stay in silence. The more silent and fearful we become, is the more things will fall apart around us. Because that is what they want. We need to wake up to announce the story that is going on around us. Delroy Chuck, after 8 years of failure, shouldn't just come out here and tell us, oh, I'm disappointed. Why not tender your resignation? This is a massive failure, Delroy Chuck. Miranda Rado. This is a massive failure. Don't come out here and tell us how disappointed you are, because you're all going to lose the next election. So you don't have much time to go. So what you ought to do, Delroy Chuck, is tender your resignation. Because your massive failure of the justice system has been exposed. That people don't even have place to go piss, Delroy Chuck. People have to walk and careful. They not buck them foot. In a way they bomb them drop inside of the courtroom, them, Delroy Chuck. You have 8 years, 8 long years to deal with this issue. So rather than be disappointed, submit your resignation to the people, because you have failed to look after our court system. And if court can operate because of the condition, Delroy Chuck, then how are you going to clear the backlog that you want to clear if court can't even be in a session because people don't have place for people don't have place for this nor that? We cannot continue like this, Jamaica, but we just sit down and accept Any little piece of bone them throw away, and we just walk on comfortable with it. Make them think to say, well then, them I do something good. That's why Andrew Wellness I walk and talk about him success, Because when I sit down quietly and make him a talk about it, and nobody not tell him say a lie, him a tell. Nobody not ask him to show the success and the prosperity. I mean, if we're looking at 28 bank account, I'm sure you would see a lot of success and prosperity there. But talk about the nation prime minister. What feel we then? Want to feel we? I will keep your promise we, You all promise we to come push bamboo through the window and push over curtain and look how we water flowers, because it seems like that was the leave on the windows and door open Andrew Wellness. So we can get fit push bamboo through the window. Put through the curtain and watch on our water flowers. Because of that you did tell we. Now that your friend them did tell we. So now peep through the window and watch where water flowers. The people of Jamaica want to need to exercise on power. Otherwise, we're not going to just roll over and accept the dictatorship when it comes. Oh, once again on this issue is getting out of hand because the government is in violation, grave violation of international law. Attorneys call for refugee status for Haitians who recently landed in Jamaica. But it gets worse than that. Latest batch of Haitians repatriated. Advocates slam government for disregarding constitution. It's not the constitution that the government is disregarding here, my dear. It's international law. Violations, Jamaica people, of the 1951 Convention on Refugees and the 1967 Protocol and the Status and Treatment of Refugees. Those are your violations. Repatriation, returning them without processing them for asylum, is a violation of international law. Nationwide News understand that 20 Haitians who landed in Portland on Saturday have been repatriated to their homeland. It is understood that the group, which include women and children, were sent back Sunday evening. They were initially held by the Port Antonio police station. Human rights lawyer and founder of Freedom Imaginary, Marlene Allen, says that she has arrived at the station on Sunday. She was barred from speaking with the Haitians. You know Jamaica can be sued for this, don't you? Jamaica can be sued for this. This is a violation of international treaty and international law that Jamaica has signed up to. You cannot repatriate someone without hearing their asylum claim. Especially you, the country, Jamaica, that is involved in interventionism in Haiti at the moment. Jamaica is aware of the gang killing and displacement of people in Haiti, particularly in Port-au-Prince and other areas. Thereby, Jamaica is under a duty, Deb, how are you? To treat those who arrive on their shore from Haiti as asylum seekers. Sanjay Stewart. Thereby, you must process their application. Their application would be a valid application based on the fact that they can prove that they are fleeing from fear of persecution or death. To have landed on Saturday and to be repatriated on Sunday evening, Jamaica cannot tell the international community that I have processed their application and refuse it in under 24 hours. These are grave human rights and international law violations. You see, human rights law is not something that your status depend on. Human rights law doesn't care about your status. Human rights law care about whether your rights are being observed or whether they're being violated or protected. So when it comes to the human rights issue, any international obligation Jamaica have on human rights, it supersedes our constitution. The International Treaty of the 51 Convention and the 67 Protocol on the matter of asylum and refugee supersedes our constitution because it is not a domestic issue that we're dealing with when we're dealing with refugee crisis or asylum seekers. It's not a domestic issue. It's not a Jamaica issue. Jamaica has international obligation. I hope the East Portland caretaker candidate as a human rights attorney will see the need to chime in on this issue because this is going to become an open wound for us. And I can't wait to hear what the international human rights uh, groups have to say about this. But this is a great violation, something Jamaica can be sued for. But what it also shows that the government of Jamaica don't care about our brothers and sisters in Haiti. They care about the American agenda. Because if you say 6,000 people have been displaced from their homes and communities by gangs, and a few of them end up on your shore, one of the protection asylum seekers have is protection from returning them to an area where there's a possibility that they will face persecution. So returning them into the gang overrun country that they're fleeing from is another grave violation of international law. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. This is embarrassing for Jamaica as a country, given that Jamaica is in Haiti at the moment carrying out America's order. But the same Jamaica who is in Haiti with guns, hmm? The same Jamaica who is in Haiti with guns cannot offer bread nor shelter to Haitians on their shores. Make it make sense. Who you are help? Hmm? Who are you helping? Them turn up at your door and you turn them away. But you go in for them house with gun. Make it make sense, Andrew Holness and Horace Chang. Make it make sense. But Joe Biden and Kamala not see them something here. Because Jamaica is in Haiti doing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris bidding. So Joe Biden and Kamala Harris don't have no care in the world about the human rights of the Haitian, because same way Joe Biden and Kamala Harris I deport them as well, even though when they have guns and ammunition over there to suck out them iridium, to dig out them iridium. But you can't offer them bread when them turn up on the shores. Make it make sense, Andrew Holness. Whose battle are you fighting? We know say the American battle are you fighting. But don't come out here, come make it go on like say you care about our Haitian brothers and sisters. And you turn up down there with gun. But when them turn up on your doorstep, you can't offer them bread nor shelter, Andrew Holness. Make it make sense. Huh? And you want Jamaica to support you attacking Haiti in America's interest, Andrew Holness? Like, seriously? Hmm? We can't wait for support and help on buy a body bag. Coming on where barbecue are waiting, man. Don't know what barbecue is waiting on. But this is disgraceful for Jamaica. Disgraceful to Jamaicans to see how Andrew Holness is being used as a puppet in 2024 to assist in the decimation of Haiti, while Haitians, George Eagle, cannot turn up on our shores and ask for bread or shelter. I don't understand it. The refugee crisis where you see unfold in Europe and in Britain is because Britain and America left go mash up Afghanistan, them left go mash up Iraq, them left go mash up Libya. What do you expect? The place where they walk and mash up the people, them are go left, they go look place to live. You have two things in international law when these sort of process rise up. Patrick, how you do? You have what is called internal displacement, and then you have what is called a refugee crisis. Say, for example, the war is in the north of the country, and then people within the north flee from the north to the south of the country for refuge. You call that in international law internal displacement. But when you cross border into another country, that is a refugee crisis, which we are in at the moment. And Jamaica is dealing with it like, boy, I don't understand. There's no international law guidance on how Jamaica is dealing with this issue. And nobody, even the human rights lawyers, telling Jamaica that they're in violation of human rights, the Constitution. It's not really the Constitution they're in violation of. They're in violation of international law, treaties that we have signed up to, treaties that must be observed and must be applied in these scenarios. You cannot apply Jamaica constitutional law for the asylum or refugee process because your country, your constitution or your legislative framework make provision for immigration and asylum law. But when you're dealing with asylum single-handedly, international law supersedes the law in your country that you're using to deal with the issue. So, whatever provision, immigration provision is in our constitution that the government is using, the provisions within the convention and the 67 protocol supersedes the constitutional provision because we are in an international territory at the moment. We've stepped outside of the Jamaica regulatory system and we have gone into the international community. So we have to apply the rules of the international community rather than the rules of our domestic standing. Somebody need to advise Horace Strong and Andrew Holness and the Department of Justice pandem something there. These are the things that the Attorney General Derek McCoy but then again, when Derek McCoy give them advice, then we hide it until we say a lie because we remember Juliette Holness did the same thing with that piece of advice, Jamrock, that she got with regards to the Nigel report then. But these are the things that the Attorney General ought to be advising the government on because he is the legal advocate for the nation. And if the government is in violation of international law, the Attorney General ought to advise the government of the operation which operation supersedes which. Why them duns? I've been a while going. Boy, them duns. Everything them do them make Jamaica look bad. Everything them do, them make Jamaica look bad. Spark, reach, burn, destroy, me no know. But the dog come out and I kill him teeth. Kill him teeth like Concan dog. Spark ready to be presented to communities. And reach agency Wago and Colleen Richards. And reach delayed by rain. Lord Jesus, spark and reach and spark. Reach and spark and reach. We're not going to kill with fancy words and acronyms. We don't mean anything in the end. We never come to fruition in the end. We're not tired for come with the hope of fancy fairy tale, make up argument. $4 billion for park and $3 billion for reach. How far on I go? And one I go spark, one I reach there. How far on I go? And one I go spark, one I reach there. Because all I have been telling we about is we're going to do it, we're going to do it, we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We have this to do it, we have this to do it. Do it now. Do it. See, I know we can't hear nothing about Tribridge. What Nesta like him can come update about Spark and Reach. Him can come tell we as well. What happened to Tribridge? We want to know about Tribridge. Just like we want to know from the Prime Minister. How much other than the 30 million, the 30,000 US, with your teeth on the foundation and buy the band. What else you thief, sir? We just a count it up. We just a count up the stolen goods. What else you thief? Foreign force having limited impact on gang violence, said Haitian photojournalist. Of course, them impact would be limited. What impact them for have amongst barbecue? What impact them for have amongst barbecue? And they are just there to protect America's interests. They are not there to deal with the issue that is confronting the Haitian people. Them there for make sure say America's foreign interests by digging out the iridium out of Haiti is protected. That's all it's about. It's not about the people. Them could give an answer story about anything to do with the people. The jury citation, we will deal with it later. Here come Jamaica again, stretching out them hand with a begging bowl. Old Harbor High School received bus from Japan. But as I talk about Japan, we toll road them, yeah? We learn say, you know who drive on the toll road them know the amount where it costs to drive on toll road in a Jamaica. Toll road that China too. And China collect toll for them road too. But for with toll road, are the Chinese them collect for with toll. And those of you who know the price for the toll in a Jamaica, people always complain that it's extortionate. Those who know the toll prices in Jamaica, can you let us know the prices and can you work it out in how much it would be in US dollars? Because in China, if you're traveling from a city called Guangzhou to Panyi, it's about a 2-hour drive between Guangzhou and Panyi. And going through the toll, Chinese drivers would only pay 9 yen. Now, 9 yen is the equivalent of $1.28 US. $1.28 US, or however the US money called. That's what the Chinese pay to use their toll. Look at the extortionate fees of our toll road. And we're learning that Jamaica not benefiting anything out of it. But then them still come tell you how much billion them have to spend in a recharge spark. 43 billion between the two galangin what the government keep promising, say them a go do. Me no know what them a go do with the market them in a Westmoreland love, because if them has promised to reach and spark for so long, and even rain tap reach and spark, hmm? Even rain stop reach and spark. The JLP, okay, remember say from last year, November, at JLP conference, the Prime Minister pledged the 40 billion for spark, 20 billion in a one financial year and 20 billion in a the next. Of the first 20 billion, that project was meant to be on the way already. But Nestor Morgan said it's ready to be presented to the nation. But the REACH program is a rain delay that program. Let's see how far we get with Reach and Spark. Let's see how far Reach and Spark can we. The Caribbean Community, CARICOM, and the African Union have signed a memorandum of understanding to enhance effective cooperation and collaboration between the organization, according to the statement released by the Guyana-based CARICOM Secretariat today. The MOU was signed in the margin of the recent concluded 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. In my view, a closer tie with CARICOM and the African Union is a welcome move. I think the ties ought to become much closer. But there's a cold-hearted chill about this move as well. Because when you have corrupt leaders of Africa coming together with corrupt leaders of the Caribbean, what a war situation, what a war. Earthquake and fire, lightning and thunder, huh? Brimstone is what we could likely to be about to face, because if they're so corrupt apart, how when they start collaborate on corrupt practices together? Look at the state of oil-rich Nigeria. If Jamaica were to find oil, do you see us developing, or do you see us fall into a Nigeria category where we have a super rich class and a dirt poor class? It's a welcome move on one hand, but it's cold and chilling to think about. On the other hand, knowing say experienced butchers are aligning themselves with experienced butchers. It's a cold and chilling thing to think about. I mean, the Caribbean doesn't have a Abraham Theory. Don't mind the rumble tumble one here. Mia Motley are going panino. Mia Motley is one of the biggest sellout. Mia Motley is just another Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris and all of them. She is just a good role player in the international club. Yeah, that demon's Mia Motley. She's just a good role player to say that she have power, courage, and standing. Don't mind she, it's all a game. Mia Motley and Andrew Holness are to be feared. They're power grabbers. They're narcissists. Them want it all for themselves. They want power for themselves alone. You look for me, Amote, just like how you say Andrew Holness, I run hope a ministry for himself. And same way me, Amote, stay, you know. So if you don't want to sit down and think, say, Mayor Motley is there to do good. Mayor Motley is just one of the other dragons, to be honest with you. So, the three we're stand up in Africa at the moment, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. They are the only three where you can say them a step out of the ring of cultism of world leadership and I think about the people. We don't have anything like that in the Caribbean. Not at all. They're all dry bones, literally. Dry bones. They were politicians. Them don't have a strength. Them don't have nothing about them. Everybody can turn them round and tell them what to do. Like literally nothing at all. But back to Brian Sykes. What Brian Sykes is saying, hold on, toll costs for the Mandela to Otrius toll is Jamaica $2,350, which is 15 US dollars. So you see the equivalent, my people. The Chinese only pay $1.28 US for drive on them toll. But the equivalent of we driving pan fluid toll when we pay to the Chinese them is $15. And this is for a car. This is for a small car. And Daniel said that's up to yesterday. That is for a car. So you see how China care about their people or put mechanism in place to ease the financial burden off of their people is they're only paying $1 something US to use their toll. Whereas we're paying $15 US for a small car to use our toll, which at the state of China alone I benefit from. Ladybug Wagwan. At the state of China, I benefit from through a toll road. And we have to pay 15 US dollars for a small car. And the people of China only pay $1.30 US. $1.30 US for using toll in China. $15 US to use toll in Jamaica. Money that the government of Jamaica does not benefit from. The people of Jamaica does not benefit from. So this is when we government them make deal with other governments and international investor. Benefit to us is not on the forefront of their mind, Jason Kane. It's about how much can go into their secret 28 bank accounts and all the little perks that they can get. But nothing that beneficial to the people. We can't continue like this, Jamaica. See, Andrew Holness that India were there. go sign memorandum of misunderstanding. And we don't know what deal Andrew go going on with the Indian them, where Andrew go offer up to the Indian them if we have to give them more land to the Indian them for the STEM school them, what them are going to assist we with. What we have to go give up for that. Because when China give things, China telling us say it's a gift from the state of China. And then when you realize you have to give up something for it. The problem with Africa and Caribbean leaders, when they sit down with these big boys, they have no thinking of the people. No, Deb, it's not 15 US in for toll in the US. We're not talking about the US. We're talking about what it costs, the money that it costs for a car to pay on the toll in Jamaica is equivalent to 15 US dollar. But to use toll in China, it's the equivalent of $1.30 US. So we have to appear to subsidize the people of China using their toll. It look like I saw it go. Because the toll, the money what we pay for with toll goes to the state of China. Don't go to the state of Jamaica. It go to the state of China. And the people in the state of China, the Republic of China rather, is only paying $1.30 US. And look how much we are paying to them. So we people them is nothing about we. My young lady from Jamaica for Justice, I think she's called Michael, or whatever, calling for a balance between constitutional right and unexplained wealth. The constitutional argument what Andrew Holness and them lot of push, it's a way of trying to use right to privacy and data protection to block them giving information that is required. I don't think they're yet to understand that when you put up yourself for political office, especially when you're a prime minister, you have very, very little privacy. Everything you do belongs to us. Everything you do is scrutinized as the public life go. So you can't come in a public life and then you go ball out constitutional right. You a private citizen, You need to understand the difference between a private citizen and a public citizen. We never hold on and drown, go put in a position of power in public life. And you offer up on yourself for it. So thereby, once you offer up on yourself for public life, you belongs to we while you serve in that office. You have very little privacy. On a sex life privacy only protected within on a marriage or on a house. Once you go outside on a relationship or outside on a marriage or outside on a family with on a sexual activities, it's our business. It's how the public life scenario works. So when you come in a public life, if you don't want your name called, if you don't want your business talk in a public, you just have to walk circumspect. I saw it go. But you don't, what you can't come out here, come do in every situation is ball out right to privacy and constitutional right. Constitutional rights, they come with a balance of proportionality. Human rights come with a balance of proportionality. Therefore, they're not absolute rights. You have to do something to get something. You have the right to freedom of speech, but there's a proportional balance to that because people are protected from you defaming them, or if you do, there's a recompense for that. You're protected, you're prohibited against spreading hate speech, spreading incitement to violence. So there is a barrier to that. Free privacy, there is a proportionality to that. The public needs to know what is in the public interest based on your privacy. There's a balance to that. Uno don't have absolute privacy when you come in this life. So if uno don't want to walk and try over on a business, come out our way. It's simple. But you don't come in our way, and then when we walk over you, you lay down on a wall. I don't see it go. Jamaican politicians don't understand how the public life and the political life scenario work. Them want to be wrapped up in a woolly blanket. Sir, we don't have the time. We're tigers out here. We are look dead meat and fresh meat for chop, sir. We don't have the time for wrapping up in a cotton wool. I mean, we're off the plantation a long time. We not pick cotton. So we're going to get the cotton wool for wrapping up. Politics is a dog eat dog world. If you want to put on yourself up, your head is on the block. It's as simple as that. You don't say, oh, for Andrew Eda get cheated at the moment. Even though he want to use the courts to play Dolly Baby to protect his criminality. That is what public life means. You're on the platter for us to pick what we want and fight. I saw it go. If we don't want we call on a name, just move on. Go on in the private sector. You see we call the people in the private sector name? If private sector never come out here and interfere with and with emancipation and with independence, you don't hear we regularly talk much about the people them in the private sector. Because as the private world go, you get on with your life. But when uno go up on the pedestal and the high seat, to walk and talk, tell lie, and quote unquote make decision, we have the right to ask uno any about uno business. We have the right to know about uno personal life. If uno tell wife lie to uno wife, if uno cheat on a wife, these are things that we need to know because we entrust uno to make decision for we. I saw it go boo boo. I saw it go. So the way how uno want it hush hush and belly rubbing like uno a pig. You don't want to scratch pig belly if you want pig to lay down. Just scratch them belly. We don't have the time for belly scratching. Sorry about that. We really don't have the time to scratch pig belly. We know say when we lay down, when we scratch on our belly, we don't have the time to scratch pig belly. It's not about that. So the constitutional rights wanna jump up and talk about. constitutional right doesn't protect you to lie. It doesn't protect you to steal. It doesn't protect you to commit crime against the people and the state. So don't jump out here every minute with the constitutional argument. This is my problem with constitutional rights and human rights, you know. They are very good and useful instruments. They protect us. But the way constitutional rights and human rights is used within the justice system, it can feel almost appalling at times to all of us. A clear example of that is the Vibe Cartel case, where it was heavily based on constitutional violations. It is similarly the same thing with the appeal that Russian Barnett keep advancing, because he's advancing these things based on his constitutional rights. The line of proportionality in the reverse at times can seem blurred, where after somebody murders another, the person who is accused of the murder, convicted, or is on trial for the murder, their constitutional or human rights become a huge twaddle and is observed and a lot of the time protected. That's where, because I said to you all the time, the law is an ass, but it is a necessary one, because it tells you on one hand that you have the right to defend yourself. And it also tells you that you have the right to preemptively strike someone, JamaicanTV.com, in self-defense, if you even think that them are going to lick you without them even raising them hands. So the law is an ass, but it is a necessary one. But the issue of constitutional and human rights, when it goes in the reverse, such as when people like Rushane Barnett uses it, or when people like Vibes Cartel uses it, it's a blurred line in the reverse of how it is used and how it can be seen to be used to escape justice, responsibility, and punishment. So the construct of the law is a beautiful piece of tool. But this is why we have to go to law school, because the law is hinged on technicalities, and you have to also deploy a huge amount of experience and common sense when using the law. It is a beautiful piece of tool when you understand it, but it is also, on the other hand, quite much a divisive and controversial piece of tool. Depends on the area who use it and how it is being used. I hope I'm not confusing you. Thank you all very much for being here with us this morning on the Global Television Group. I hope I will have time to go through the understanding of the juror's duty in Jamaica. I hope I will go through this with you this afternoon. But thank you all very much for being here this morning. Glad to have your company. Like and share the live for us, please, and continue to support the program in whatever way you can. And once again, we are saying to Diane Warwick and the rest of the family, condolences for the loss of a queen and an icon within the music industry. Thank you and good morning from the Global Television Group.